Hello and welcome to the Beyond Sunday podcast. This is your host, David Santistevan. Friends, thank you for listening today. I'm honored to have Dante Bowe on the podcast today. Just released his brand new album, Circles, and Dante is an artist with Bethel Music, but also part of the Maverick City family. He comes from Columbus, Georgia, and what a heart for the presence of God. We dive in this interview into Dante's story, his background in music, and his walk with Jesus, as well as the creation of his brand new album with Bethel Music, Circles. This is a refreshing project, so honest and raw and real, and it's really great to just dive behind the scenes with Dante. But before we get to that interview, here's a quick word from our incredible sponsors, one of my favorite companies, Planning Center. Check this out. When I think of essentials for worship ministry, not many compare to Planning Center. It's a tool I use on a daily basis and works around the clock. Planning Center is an all-in-one solution for scheduling teams, coordinating schedules, communicating about weekend details, and getting responses from band members. Maybe you already use Planning Center to schedule your teams and organize your services. Well, that's amazing. It only scratches the surface of what PCO can do for you. If you're looking to advance to Planning Center Ninja status, you need to use it as a full church management software system. Planning Center provides check-ins for your kids' ministry, an online giving system, managing people in small groups, event registrations, resources, music stand, and a mobile app for your congregation. Crazy, right? Planning Center is offering a 30-day free trial so you can see for yourself how amazing this service is. After the 30 days are up, pricing all depends on the size of your church, and I can say it's worth the investment of every penny. You'll never go back. It's an easy, low-cost solution that yields incredible results. Head to your browser now and type in planning.center. That's planning.center. All right. Dante, man, it's great to have you back on the show. For those listening, we tried this last week and had some technical difficulties, but hey, we're back in action here, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing really, really good, man. Just hanging out in California, yeah.
That's good. So how's it feel, man? The record Circles, okay, released into the wild on Friday. Man, so this is a few days away now. How's it feel after all the work, man, to have this out there?
I mean, it feels really good. I mean, I love it. It's my baby, and I love that people are like responding well, and I'm seeing kids dance to it and people do TikToks and stuff. It's just been awesome to kind of see people respond to it in a positive way.
Yeah. Dude, I saw you posted like a billboard of the record. Is this a real thing, and where is this?
Yeah, there's a few of them around. That one was in Nashville.
Okay.
But then there's some in like North Carolina, Georgia. They were doing some in Cali.
Okay. Yeah. Getting the word out there, man. That's exciting. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like, I don't know, it's just really cool to see.
Yeah. Well, Dante, I wanted to dive just a little bit into your story. We'll talk more about the actual project, but would love to hear a little bit about your musical journey and just how and when you really got into music and knew like this is what you wanted to do. Take us into that story a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from like an early age, my whole family kind of sang. Everyone except my mom and dad for the most part, but they would probably say they sang, but they didn't really sing. But my uncles were really musical. My grandfather was really musical. He was a bass player. My aunts were all singers. So from an early age, I always enjoyed music. My mom would play a lot of like Motown and like current R&B, like Aaliyah and all those people. And then my dad was a real like hip hop guy, and my grandma and grandfather were all gospel. So I kind of like grew up just like
Yeah.
with all these different genres, just hearing them normally, like just in everyday life. So I think I've always been interested in music and wanted to kind of explore, but never really gotten into it until I was probably 16. Is when I like officially was like, okay, I want to maybe do music for real. But yeah, I guess that's how I kind of was exposed.
What's the first song that you wrote or you have a memory of writing?
Um, this one rap song. It was when I don't even know how old I was, and it's a faint memory, but I remember writing it, and it was like "Wanna Be Me," 1, 2, 3, something weird. It was just really, really rhymey and horrible. But I remember rapping it for my mom and my daddy, and they were like, I don't even know if they were playing or were they serious, but they were like, "Okay, this is good." Like they encouraged me.
That's good, man.
But it was a horrible song.
So you're saying it's not on the new project here?
Right.
Dante, it's evident, man, when you lead worship that there is a depth in your like just relationship with Jesus. When did that start for you? What was like the turning point for you when you really encountered the presence of God and were kind of like wrecked, like for anything else? Is there a certain moment or time?
I'd say um when I was 16 years old, I think I had my first like encounter with Jesus where I was like, man, I want to serve like for real and be devoted 100%. And I was in my room listening to like a Kier Sheard song and pretty much just started bawling and just yeah, I guess I was born again then in that moment. But I'll say to get to where I am now, like the depth that you probably feel now, it's always like a rebirth. So I think like every season there's like always this rebirth of just like in new encounters and new, just new adventures with God and just with people that bring you to this like that brought me to like this current place I am with Jesus. So
Yeah.
does it make sense?
Yeah. Dante, what would you say like encourages you about worship in the church today, and how do you feel like worship leaders and churches maybe need to be challenged, like what needs to change? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. What encourages me about worship today is that I'm friends with like most of like the newer worship leaders that are on the rise, and they're shaking the world. They're like killing it.
Yeah.
And I'm encouraged because I know them personally and I know how they feel about God and I know how they feel about people. And just from my perspective, that's really encouraging that they're not, you know, just saying one thing and then like they don't really feel that way at all. They actually feel what they're saying and they're actually living that out and just, if that makes sense at all. So that's really encouraging. And
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like worship leaders needs to be challenged, I think in authenticity, just like be yourself. We want to like, I think it's important that we know from your perspective who Jesus is. Like it's like in the Bible when it was like the gospel according to Matthew, the gospel according to John, the gospel according to, you know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people are just telling everybody else's story. But I think I'd encourage worship leaders to really I don't know, just really be authentic and find out what that looks like, for you and your team. And yeah, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Did you have to overcome that in your own musical journey, like not like the pressure to kind of conform to the industry or whatever, how did you kind of find that authenticity yourself?
Yeah, for sure I had to overcome that. I don't know if I found it 100%, but I definitely know I'm more authentic than I was yesterday. And I think it's like a everyday kind of just journey. And a lot of people are trying to learn new things, but really it's probably important that we unlearn a lot of things. And I think for a long time, um, it was okay to mimic and kind of just like be, not someone else, but kind of like just not be your 100% yourself. And I think now people just want the real, like people that aren't serving God, like they can tell when it's just not real. And I think like it's just important that we get to that place where we become ourselves in the light of God. So in the light of Jesus, and yeah.
Yeah, love that. So let's talk about Circles, Dante, and kind of the origins of this record. I know I heard you say before that you had a record in mind, but didn't release it. You know, that you kind of scrapped it and started over, and so talk about the process of this project from the beginning till now.
Yeah, I pretty much wanted to do this like live worship recording, and I did it. I recorded it, got it mixed, got it mastered. It was name of it was Dante Bo live at the big house, and it was at this huge cabin in Ocoee, Tennessee. Anyway, I after listening to it, a lot, I'm just like, I don't think I want to release this. I don't know if it's what I need to say right now. The songs are really cool, and
Wow.
then but I didn't know if it was appropriate right now. And
Do you still
then I
have
went,
this?
yeah, I do. Yeah, one of the songs came out, "The Giant Is Dead," and then another song came out. Actually, "My Soul Sings" came out on a Maverick City record, but that was on originally
Cool.
on my live record. But
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I ended up not doing not putting that record out, and went to work with Justin Almondred and wanted to try something with him, and we created this beautiful record called we named it Dawning. So like the dawning of a new day, and
Yeah.
we it was a really beautiful, like colorful record. It was like I don't know, it was like dreamy. It was awesome. It was a beautiful record, and I this is like this is in 2019, and I ended up just being like, I don't know if this is right. I didn't feel. I'm like, this is really cool, but I don't know if it's not saying everything I wanted to say. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't feel like it was. And that's the thing, bro. Like, I'm not even interested in putting out records for money. I'm trying to make
Mm.
sure I'm giving people what really is like important. You know what I mean? Like really writing things that I feel like are relevant and important, and not just like creating something and throwing it out there just because I can.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
so with this last record, I ended up in the middle of trying to figure out what I was gonna do with this record I did with Justin Almondred, which I love. I ended up having a trip to California to work with Lael, who produced Circles, and we produced one song named "Keep Going," which is on the album. And that's when I said, okay, this is the record I'm going to release. And I knew I was going to actually release it. And so I came back and
Mm.
I finished my entire project with Lael, and that's how we got Circles.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like this, like going to studio, create a record, and now it's out. It was like this long. It took years to make Circles.
Yeah. Talk about your connection with Lael and the chemistry there. What about it just worked for you?
Yeah, like honestly, I loved how he kind of like was so out of the box, with as far as even just sonically, just speaking practically, like his sounds
Yeah.
and like what he would use. But more than that, his friendship. Like I could tell that he cared about me as a human being and really wanted to create something that was honest.
Yeah.
and that was pure.
Yeah.
And just one session with him, I remember when we were doing Keep Going, we started this whole talking thing. He's like, for all these songs, just talk it. Just talk it. It's more real. It's more whatever. I was actually just telling my friends a story about okay, but Keep Going. He's just like, just talk it. So heartache is heartache, pain is pain, trouble is trouble. Like he's like, don't put so much like all this stuff that kind of brought my voice to a different place. And I was just like, man, I feel like this is super new, but also nostalgic at the same time because it had like these like R&B undertones and
Right.
these pop and hip hop undertones, and I was just like, okay, I'm going with him. So I just gave you a bunch of reasons, but like I was just like sold ultimately.
Yeah. What about the production process, sonically and the sounds he was using, like the way he worked? What did you learn from him or what surprised you about his like process and technique?
Yeah, he works very very fast, but he's very intentional.
Yeah.
So it's like he works really fast, like he just knows what he wants, and he's really intentional. So if we wanted like live horns, we would already like he'll hear me writing the song and know he wants live horns already. So he'll already be ahead of me and in kind of the process. But we what's crazy about this project is like after producing it in studio, we went and got live horns, like real players. So all the horns
Yeah.
on the album are real. All the string
Nice.
arrangements it's a real orchestra that we got to play all the string arrangements and stuff like that. And so all the guitar was done by Vendel. So it's not like a programmed record. It really took like, you know what I mean, a lot of effort, but he worked really, really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so cool, man. Like, because I'd imagine with that style, like a lot of it can just be programmed. You can just program the strings, and the horns using samples, and like would be a lot easier. But the fact that like you got the real thing, that shows like just a different attention to detail and care. I love that. Man, I love the project, and I love. There's just seems like there's so many influences in this record. Like the song starts with circles, and you kind of think, okay, yeah, this is like a Bethel kind of spontaneous worship kind of feel, but it's nothing like that. Once you get into okay, then it's like okay, we're going a totally kind of different direction here. But throughout the whole record, you can tell your musical influences, but also your heart for worship. And so talk about that a little bit, just how all of your influences kind of come together on this record to make it what it is.
Yeah. I am obsessed with this one album by Lauryn Hill. The name of it is Miseducation.
Mm.
And it's like I was listening to it a lot during this like process. And I was just wondering to myself, I don't know, and I've never even told this to anybody, but I was wondering, I'm like, man, I want to make people feel how I feel right now. I feel so refreshed and like joyful and excited and like happy. Like after listening to it, because they use very bright ways like to like produce that record. Like use all these bright instruments and stuff. And I was like, man, it's really cool. And all these heavy hip hop drums. And I went
Mm-hmm.
to Lael and I pretty much told him like I'm obsessed with this album. And but he already had these beats that were kind of like that style anyway. And
Mm.
and so from that moment we started being more intentional about like like genres that I was raised on. And we
Yep.
and so you can hear that throughout the album, like with the ballad circles. I really am I love like a good ballad, and I love string arrangements and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You can kind of hear that in like Voice of God too, and stuff like that. And so I wanted to have one of those songs on my album. Like I didn't excuse me, I didn't want to like exclude that part
Right.
of my project. And so we just did it, and we didn't think about it. We were like, okay, we're gonna just believe that that's gonna be cohesive. And then like okay was like that R&B, pop, hip hop, whatever. And yeah, we just pretty much was just intentional about like pulling on styles that I was raised on. And we didn't
Yeah.
know if it was going to be cohesive, but we, after like being done with it, heard it back and was like, oh, this works.
Oh, it totally works, man, and it totally flows together too. Like it feels like almost like a story, from beginning all the way to the end, how it's kind of interconnected. Which I don't know if that was intentional or just kind of like the spirit of God kind of pulling all the pieces together in the end. But oh yeah, it's great. Um, so talk about so obviously the musical direction this record has is unique, and there isn't a whole lot of even like what you would consider worship music that goes this direction. Um, do you like worship music? Kind of has a sound, you know what I mean? It just sort of has like this is what worship music sounds like. Do you have any thoughts on that about expanding the creative box of worship music, or do you think the way that it is like it works and it should be the way that it is and maybe shouldn't break too many boxes? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah. I say, I'd say, well, I'll start by saying this with Voice of God. I didn't think people would sing that in church, and like, cause they had stuff like Street Side with My Ice Cream Cone, or like, it's like a
Right.
summertime sprinkler. And churches are just singing that in church now, and it's normal because they could just,
Wow.
and that's something that we didn't expect. Or and I think like that's gonna happen, but I don't think it's worth trying to make it happen. I think if it
Yeah.
happens, it happens. But I love worship how it is, and I also wouldn't mind if we expand it. But I don't think it's like important like whether it expands or not. I think the writers that are writing today are some of the best, you know, articulators or like um communicators there is, and I think they're doing a very, very good job. I don't If it did change, it changes, but if it doesn't, I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, totally. Um, as a worship leader, Dante, what song or songs are you loving to lead right now, whether you've written them or not? Is there kind of like your go-to songs right now?
I really love singing. I love singing ABBA, and
Hmm.
I hadn't sang it in a long time, and I just sang it last night or Sunday. I just sang it Sunday for the first time in a long time, and man, it hit me so hard. Um,
Is that from the Helsers?
yeah, from the Hellsers, I sang
Yeah.
it Sunday,
Yeah.
and I hadn't sang it in so long, but it just hit me so hard. So I love that song ABBA, and I went into As the Deer. So I have to say, like, I'm gonna be singing those for a little while.
As the Deer, like the old school.
Yeah,
Bro, love that.
I'm
How'd
gonna be
that go?
singing that for the next few months. It went like it was a really, really like a really, really like amazing moment.
Yeah.
And I think like there's something about going back and just going back to when it was a simpler time and the
Mm.
revelation was easy, and it just, I don't know, it was like wholesome. It felt really, really good.
Yeah. No, I love that. Um, so Dante, if you were standing in front of an audience of worship leaders, which you kind of are in this podcast, what's your current like challenge or advice to worship leaders today? What would you say?
I just say, write what's honest and be grounded.
Hmm.
Be very grounded. Like I think we as worship leaders, we obviously have like a major responsibility because a lot of people won't. They're not going to read the Bible, but they'll listen to our theology. So I
Yeah.
think like just have a good balance of like authenticity, like being 100% yourself, and also just being grounded in the foundation that's been set. That would be my advice.
Yeah. That's good. Um, Dante, what's kind of like what inspires you or is currently maybe inspiring you? Could be anything from music you're listening to books you're reading to a pastor you listen to. Like, where are you getting inspiration from these days?
My friends, just hanging out with my friends, has been my inspiration. Has inspired me.
Yeah, I love that. And any specific friends that are inspiring to you, like what they're doing that's kind of lighting a fire in you?
I mean, honestly, it's just so I have really extraordinary friends, but like they do some pretty cool things. But other than like my my friends, literally the trampoline where I took my album cover,
Yeah.
they built the trampoline. I didn't hire people for that.
Wow.
My friends built that set for my album cover. Like 5 of my best friends.
How cool is
And
that?
they also filmed the virtual concert. They also filmed the rollout for the album. So these are my best friends that I've been friends with my entire adult life
Yeah.
that are working with me. My best friends are they're my managers. And so I just say, like, there's no the specific thing they do, but like that inspires me is just them showing up. Like, I guess
Mhm.
is really inspiring, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, just them
Love
showing
that.
up, being there is inspiring.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Dante, if this is kind of an impossible question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you could only pick one song from Circles, like if people couldn't listen to the whole album, but they could only listen to one song, what would that one song be?
Hmm. Wow, that's the most incredible question I've ever asked. I think during this press, I think one song that I'd want them to listen to. I'm just gonna say this.
It's tough. I know it's a tough question.
I'm gonna just say all God's children,
Why is that?
because it's exposing the flaws in my life and my family's life. And the chorus is saying, we're all God's children. Like we all belong to him. Like no matter what creed, color, tribe, like no matter where we come from,
Mm.
no matter what we're going through, we're all God's children. And yeah, we're all created to be a little complicated, but he'll set us free. I love that line.
Yeah.
That's my favorite line in the song. We were all
Mm.
created to be a little complicated, but he'll set us free. And if anything, I would
Yep.
want people to listen to that. And um, I'm gonna add this little part too when it says, "Pick up the phone and forgive them because it's worth it. Tell the person that you love them. Follow the dreams that somehow you left behind. Be yourself, walking all the way into the light. Before they're dead and they're gone, give them roses because there's a gift in every day, in every moment. The only way that I know to redeem the time is make the best of the present here and now." And I think that's just so important. So I think if there's one song I would want somebody to listen to is All God's Children.
Man, that's powerful, man. We're like having some church here today.
Yeah.
It's so good. Um, is that song is that kind of like, I know you get pretty specific with like certain people and examples in that song. Is that like your family? Is that like your story, or how did that song come together?
Yeah. Do you know the second verse when it says, "Oh, my brother told me he was a believer. I can see it in the future. Prophesy till it happens. Giving up is not an option
Yeah.
because my brother is not a believer."
Mm,
And the
wow.
second line is, "My uncle Jeff still drinks until he falls on his face, but God's
Yeah.
hands is not short and it's not too late. He was drunk at my release concert 3 days ago.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
Unbelievable.
praying that
Yeah.
my mama don't ever fall off the deep end. Praying that when she hears this song, she finds a healing. My mom had a suicide attempt
Wow.
last year. You know what I mean? For my cousin Dominique behind bars as a felon, I'm praying that she hears this too. She just got out 2 months ago.
So this is
She's
fresh.
everything in that song is act like legit real.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
oh, my grandfather lost my grandmother just lost my grandpa for this year.
Oh,
Yeah, I know that was hard, but at least he lived a good life. All glory to God. That's
yeah.
all true, So, yeah.
Yeah, man, there's something about that song. I'm glad you brought that up because there's just something that's so real about it. It's kind of disarming, and I think a lot of times in like especially in worship music, we can almost just like have this facade, where it's just everything is like we're kind of putting on this show almost, and we're saying the right things, which is important. We want to declare the truth of God, but there's something about just kind of like being honest about like this is my life, but almost like you're prophesying into it breakthrough. You know what I mean? And it sounds like, man, that's just what you're doing with that song and a lot of this project, huh?
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So powerful, man. Well, Dante, I really appreciate you jumping on this call again and sharing with our listeners, man. And I'm a fan of your heart and your music and what you're doing, and just appreciate this record, man, and all that's to come. Let's do this again sometime. We'll do a round 2 next time around. So what's next for Dante Bowe and this record and any plans for the rest of this year?
I think I'm a tour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna do a small tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any idea when we can expect that?
Definitely towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We'll definitely be keeping our eyes and ears open for that, man. And so appreciate it, bro. Thanks again. And yeah, like I said, we'll do this again sometime. Next time around. And this has been fantastic. Thanks, man. Well, that's all we have for today, my friends. Come on over to BeyondSundayWorship.com where you can find all the resources that we talked about. Be sure to listen in plenty of times to Dante's new record, Circles. It's amazing, so refreshing, so unique, creative, a great project. Check that out. And be sure to continue spreading the word about the Beyond Sunday podcast. Appreciate that so much. Support the show by checking out Planning Center at planning.center, where you can manage your entire church with this incredible piece of software, not just your worship ministry. It's a game changer, folks. That's at planning.center. Thanks again for listening this week, and we'll see you next time on the Beyond Sunday podcast. You're amazing. Have an incredible week.